based on your real-life experiences growing up in Iran and Austria and France. And is this movie 100% autobiographical, or is this a fictional story inspired by your ordeals growing up?
I think the second thing is better put, because it's certainly not a documentary about my life, and it's certainly a subjective point of view, and it's certainly that when you make a script, the part of the storytelling, we should never forget it. So if I pretend that is 100% autobiographical, that means that the dog looks like the dog that I draw, that this thing that I said, exactly I said this thing, which is not true. Of course, is a part of storytelling. It's based on my own experiences, and then you have to make a story.
Iraq War has been one of the deadliest military conflicts in the West Asian region, which killed hundreds of thousands and divided the region along sectarian lines.
The adaptation of the award-winning graphic novel Persepolis wishes to convey that one must not judge an individual without any prior bias or prejudice if one does not know their backstory. This is increasingly relevant today with propaganda and racism being forced into our brains unconsciously. Persepolis plays out as a satire of racial discrimination in contemporary times, with us being forced into playing roles that we are not made for, thus losing our identity and story. In an age where big budget studios like Pixar and Disney use vibrant and eye-catching art styles of animation, Persepolis uses a simplistic black and white shaded animation for most of the runtime. This is iconic as it speaks of the film as a hazy memory of the protagonist. The visuals are not meticulously detailed either, as one would not remember the color of the jacket that one wore 5 years ago. In my opinion, Persepolis works better as an animated film more than a graphic novel because the facial expressions of the characters, brilliant voice acting, and a short run time brings much more depth and immersion. This increases engagement as the medium utilizes more of the senses. Moreover, since one is more likely to watch a movie than someone reading a book with them, it creates a feeling of community which the movie often reiterates. Also, in the modern age where one possesses a relatively shorter attention span, adapting the novel into an animated film makes it more accessible to a wider audience. More specifically, adapting the novel into an animated film in favor of a live-action one creates the opportunity to influence a younger audience. Since they're the next generation, it brings society closer to building a utopia. Furthermore, it is difficult to convey exaggerated emotions using actors for a vibrant cast of characters with distinct personalities. Thus, animating the facial expressions is better in this scenario. Moreover, due to Hollywood's notorious reputation for whitewashing casts and the current hostile relationships between the USA and Iran, it was nearly impossible to find Iranian actors for the film. Thus, the only feasible option was to adapt the book into an animated film. I appreciated how the flashbacks are shown in black and white in stark contrast to the colorful present day. The black and white signify the purity and innocence of young Satrapi, as for a child, everything is black and white. But as you grow up, you realize life is a lot more complicated and colorful. The transitions between the present and the past produce a dreamlike effect by slowly zooming into Satrapi with an increasingly pitch-black background. These transitions help the audience grasp Satrapi's state of mind. Such a feeling cannot be reproduced in a graphic novel, regardless of how well it is written or descriptively drawn. The ambient background score is perfect for the movie rather than an orchestra, as this is neither a love story nor a fairy tale, but a biopic. This helps the movie feel grounded and real, and the simplistic yet gritty art style adds to this feeling. The character of young Satrapi acts as a precautionary tale for the youth, as she easily gets angered and influenced. Moreover, she has several flaws which makes her more relatable to the audience, as she makes the same mistakes we would make. For example, chasing the son of the torturer, getting an innocent man arrested, acting rebellious in a dangerous environment, and smoking. Thus, we can sympathize with her as she is a human being with natural flaws. The film smartly uses visuals to provide details of the situation rather than an exhaustive narrative. After all, a picture is worth 1,000 words. For example, when Marjane's dad narrates to her the history of Iran and Shah's dictatorship, the whole sequence is presented as a puppet show, which a keen viewer would figure out as a reference to Reza Shah Pahlavi being the puppet of the UK and the USA. The film also depicts how, in a situation, perspective is the difference between a hero and a villain. For example, communism is shown as a positive ideology from Marjane's point of view, even though the general Western opinion of communism is pessimistic. The film beautifully uses animation to convey the personality of the characters. For example, when the two veiled women confront Marjane for a rebellious lifestyle, they move in a snake-like manner which tells the audience about their cold-blooded nature. The film also brilliantly informs the audience of the protagonist's feelings without being explicit. For example, when Marjane was scolded for chasing after the son of the secret police member under the Shah, she plays the devil's advocate while her imaginary personification of God plays the voice of reason. This segment shows the complex working of a human mind in stark contrast to the comic book heroes who always have a clear goal in mind and are never shown vulnerable nor depressed. Moreover, the film also explored the issue of mental health, which in many third world countries is considered taboo. Such as when Marjane overdosed on drugs, the whole world stops and she felt in limbo. She eventually underwent a moment of self-reflection and came back stronger. The overdose moment shows Marjane in a fever-like dream, which makes sense as when you're depressed, your mind is clouded and one cannot think rationally. Also initially, when Marjane fell in love with Fernando, he is shown to be extremely handsome and well-mannered, but when she breaks up with him, he is shown to be an ugly, shameless, selfish and stingy individual. This is meant to show that when we initially obsess over someone, we ignore all their flaws and see them in a different light when compared to a neutral and unbiased view. Persepolis was light in politics and religion. It also had an aptitude for comedy with areas of tension as well. The film asserts that Iran is not an Arab nation. The country is mixed with great variations in opinions. Thus, the film allows the audience to empathize with the Iranian citizens who are generally looked down upon with malice. Persepolis also reviews the birth of an artist. Early in the film, Marjane goes to Vienna for schooling away from her friends and family. She attempts to include herself with various groups, but she never quite fits in. She is an outsider, a rebel, and this adds to her defiant spirit. Moreover, Persepolis borrows heavily from German expression silent films such as Nosferatu and Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. There are several powerful scenes where there is no dialogue for an extended period, and the characters' actions and facial expressions tell us more than if there was actual dialogue involved. For example, in the attempted suicide scene, the background turns pitch black, foreshadowing her dark future. The film efficiently utilizes a perfect balance of the medium and close shots to increase tension or enhance tragic scenes. Another overlooked factor is that due to the simplistic art style of the characters, the animation is smooth, which grants more believability to the characters and removes the uncanny valley. Persepolis is a unique film that employs the medium of animation effectively to pass its message to its audience without being explicit or preachy.